Hello, welcome everyone. This is Rachel Fielding with Free Families. Welcome to our live broadcast. I am over the moon excited to share with you today my friend Rachel Gallant. The first day I ever met her, I went home with shivers down my spines because she's so electrifying. She's such an inspiring individual, and I just felt overjoyed that I had a new friend in my life, not only with the same name of me as me, but just her energy is absolutely contagious and electrifying. And just last week, I was able to hear her story. Just last week, Rachel Gallant ran the Boston Marathon, and she was able to share a really inspiring story about her experience. And there is a really unique twist. There's a life lesson in her story that really stuck with me, and I thought you deserve to hear it too. And so welcome, Rachel Gallant. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I feel the same way about you, Rachel. About the first time we met, and it was like magic.
Yes.
Amazing.
So magical. So magical. In fact, you know what I have? I have a gift you gave me. I don't know if you remember you gave me this gift, but excuse me for a second. I'm going to grab this gift. This was the gift that you made. In fact, it's probably reverse, right? It's reverse, but it says...
No, it's perfect.
Is it? Oh, good. Let love be your highest goal! Exclamation point. So you made this bumper sticker, right?
Yes, it's my favorite quote of all time.
Let love be your highest goal.
Above and beyond.
Wow,
anything
wonderful.
And everything.
Yes.
I kind of apply that with my running as well, that I don't run for time, I run with my heart.
Oh.
And
Yeah, Rachel is a grandmother as well, right? And this was your first time running the Boston Marathon, is that right?
Yes. I went to... I had a 2-year goal of running the Boston Marathon, and I went to Dublin, Ireland, and ran the Dublin Marathon in 2015 to qualify for Boston. And then the registrations were full for 2016, so that's how I came to be a participant in the 2017 marathon.
Wow, so you've been preparing for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just last Monday, you ran the Boston Marathon. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience, what it was like?
Yes, I didn't really have a goal in terms of my time. I was hoping to qualify again. My biggest goal was just to have an experience of being able to give back in all the ways that God has blessed my life. And I wanted to run on the, so I ran and represented Tufts Medical School of Dentistry, and back in 2014, I had some dental work done, and they blessed me beyond measure with their generosity of dental work. So I told them that I would be back to give back to Tufts, and was invited to run on their team. And so with the Tufts jersey and my my heart of paying it forward, I just had a goal of doing the best that I could do, and just running with my heart. So in training, I didn't train with a watch. I trained, my running is kind of a meditation and a prayer. And I always, I figured that in this particular marathon that it's not really about the time and how fast I run as much as giving it my best. And wearing a watch doesn't always help in terms of when in life we're giving it our best and we're doing the best we can. And that's really all we can do. So looking at my watch mile to mile was not going to be the indicator or the gauge that was that I could look at to see if I was doing good enough or not good enough in this race. So running without a watch, it was just about the experience of falling into a different kind of concentration, and that was one of giving it my all and knowing that I was running the best that I could run and hoping for the best outcome. And when I finished, I mean, it was very painful toward the end, and I really felt like I was running a lot slower than what my time was, and that was a real epiphany to me, because in life, I think sometimes we go about doing things, sometimes our hearts are heavy, or sometimes we go through things and life experiences that bring us to a place of really feeling like we have a lot of weight on our shoulders and that we're not good enough or we're not doing enough. In reality, what happens or what comes about as a result of continuing on, regardless of our emotional states, that there's a whole other world that can be that's being created in the midst of whether it's turmoil or hard times, or even not hard times, but it may not feel internally like we're on the up and up. And then that's kind of how I felt when I ran the race. I was doing my best. I didn't know what my time was. I felt there was a lot of pain involved, but in the end, I ended up running 10 minutes faster than I ran my last marathon. And I have no idea how this happened, because I did not feel like I was running faster. I felt like I was running much slower. But it's something that is unexplainable. It's unexplainable. There are people on this particular day that didn't make it through that race. And I've since run into a number of people that have explained to me that they ran, the marathon, and they were with other friends, and people just didn't finish. People didn't finish this race. It was hot. And other elite runners have written in saying how they were 10 and 15 minutes off their time of what their goal was to run. And most people do not PR in Boston because of the course. And I had a PR, but it was also 10 minutes faster than what I ran in Dublin, which is beyond me. It really is a miracle. And I just, again, I'm just getting back to our everyday living and our everyday evaluations of ourselves, and thinking that maybe sometimes we're not doing a good job or we're not feeling like it's good enough, but the outcome can be far surpass what our emotional states and our minds may be perceiving it to be. So it's just a great lesson in just to keep going and to keep focused on what you really want to create in your life, and knowing that we're all surrounded by so much love and so much grace, that if we do our best and just leave the rest can be beyond our imaginings. And it's the truth, because I just experienced this. It was just, and my husband tells me every day when he continues to read about the Boston Marathon that he says to me, "Rachel, do you realize what you just did?" And I say, "But I didn't do it. I did part of it, but the outcome was beyond what I could have imagined."
Isn't it true, Rachel, that while you were running and you weren't wearing your watch and you saw others who were wearing their watch, isn't it true that you just kept saying to yourself, all I can do is do my very best? Wasn't that sort of what
every mile?
Every mile? What did you tell yourself?
Every time I passed the mile mark, and I would think to myself, because we went out in waves, so the clock time that was next to each mile mark, was no indicator of how fast of my time, because we all went off on waves, and so every time I would pass a mile mark, and I would check in with myself to see how I felt, I would just say, this is what it is, and that I'm doing the best that I can, and I would just give myself a positive thoughts, positive affirmations, and just knowing every mile for mile that I was doing the best that I could, and I would say that as I went further along in the race, that I could that my body would continue to behave itself and and get me to the finish, because there were a lot of people around me that weren't having that kind of day. And I met this gentleman a few days later in Staples, that the marathon, if you can believe it, and he was running with a woman friend of his, and he was a pacer. He was the guy with the watch to pace her. And at some point during the race, she told him, please stop telling me my time, because she wasn't feeling well. And by the time they got to mile 17, she couldn't run anymore. They had to drop out. But he even said that she didn't even want to know what her time was anymore. And it was a perfect example about you can only do what you can do. And mentally, what that was doing for her, because she wasn't feeling that good, was knowing her time was mentally putting a strain on her. It was depleting her. And I know that it was a very hot day, and there were a lot of people, from what he said too, that really kind of the wheels fell off around mile 17, and they couldn't even finish.
That reminds me of, I remember going to, I'm thinking it was in Hawaii. I went to an inspiring lecture. In fact, it was the guy from the Gratitude Rock guy from the movie The Secret, Lee Bauer, and he was speaking, and he got up on stage, and the first thing he said was, what is the number one cause of an unhappiness? All unhappiness comes from this one thing. And we're all sort of thinking, what's the number one cause of unhappiness? And then he said, it's comparison. And that reminds me of what you're saying about comparing yourself against something, and also the idea of comparing yourself against time or anything that can be measured. I mean, anything that can be measured, as we know, Mary Baker Eddy says that time is a mortal measurement. It's a limitation. That's the definition of it. It's actually a limitation. So when we actually compare ourselves against a limitation, no wonder we feel so awful, because we're in essence limiting ourselves. And as unlimited beings, it feels very unnatural and very uncomfortable to feel limited. And I think sometimes we even accept the fact that we would measure ourselves by time, or measure our success by dollars, or measure something by numbers. Anything that can be measured with has an idea of limitation to it. And by being infinite beings, it's very unsettling for us. And sometimes I think we settle for measuring our worth with comparison to limitations like time and money and numbers, because we think somehow we're going to advance by doing that. But you've just proven how setting aside any sense of limitation by your time and focusing solely on giving your absolute best, knowing that giving your best was all that you could do, and that you were focused on that. And see, if you were focused on giving your best and time, your focus would have been split. It would have been like what Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. So that's why I love your story, because you're telling us, look, you've got a choice. You can't do two things. You can't measure your success or your worth by numbers or time. You can only measure your success by absolutely giving your absolute best, which is really unlimited because of the truth of who we're being. And you prove that not only by setting aside the limitations and literally ignoring them and focusing on being your best, you proved that you actually will have a better result in the world of limitation, i.e. time. You actually ran 10 minutes faster. You ran under 4 hours, right?
Yeah, I ran, well under. I ran 20 minutes below what my qualifying time, 25 minutes below what my qualifying time would have to be to run again.
Wow.
For my age, 25 minutes.
By absolutely setting aside the idea of time. See, that is
Yes.
incredibly powerful. And I love how you related to us, how you did this with raising your children, right? You were a single mom, 2 children.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, giving it your best every day?
Yes, I absolutely love, just feel like, having my girls in my life and it still is a privilege. And I just love every single day with them and watching them grow and watching their spirits bloom and supporting them in the ways of nurturing their authentic beings. And so every day, I would just watch them and see what kind of, attention that they would need or would best nourish them on their path of spiritual enlightenment and fun and joy and love and laughter. And we would journal at night and do all kinds of fun things all the time. And every night when I would go to bed, I would just, lay in bed and pray and thank God for the day and kind of go through my mind of everything that we did. And life isn't perfect. I'm not a perfect parent, but I always felt like at the end of the day that I would offer my day to God and say, God, that I did the best that I could. And if there were any areas that I thought were shortcomings, I would just ask for strength and wisdom to be even better tomorrow. But I always felt like I gave it my all each day. Each day was a great day. Each day was well lived. And every day I knew, even from the day they were born, that there was going to be a time when they were going to grow up and they were going to move out. So, I guess, that saying about live every day, with the end in mind, that there's this way about not living in an anxiety way, but just knowing that time is precious, that every moment is precious, so I bring forth everything within myself in every moment to glorify their lives, to appreciate their spirit, and to just give it all you've got every day. And that's just the way it is. That's, and I think in every aspect, if you can get to the end of your day and just say, wow, I did the best I could, and thank you,
No regrets, right? No regrets.
No regrets. Yeah, no regrets.
Yeah. That's very inspiring.
And I really love what you just explained about the comparisons, because in Boston they have this at the 20-mile mark. There's what they call the Heartbreak Hill, and I didn't really pay much attention to it. And when I got to Heartbreak Hill, which I didn't think was actually Heartbreak Hill, I thought it was one of the Wellesley Hills that they're talking about. My husband was telling me there's 3 hills that they call the Wellesley Hills. Hill was one of the 3. I was still in the 3 Wellesley Hills, and I know that I was around mile 20, but when I got to 23, I figured I must have already went up the Heartbreak Hill, and it wasn't really that difficult for me. And again, this is this whole thing about how much energy people put around Heartbreak Hill. and Heartbreak Hill breaking you down, and that's when most people just don't do well and all of this stuff, and I'm just not going to have anything of it. I wasn't paying attention to that. As a matter of fact, going uphill for this particular race felt a lot better than all the downhill to me. So I think that it's a great lesson in understanding the importance of really knowing what you want in life, really knowing what the possibilities are, endless possibilities. That the truth and a belief system that resembles that is not just paying attention and being very careful at what we listen to, what we read, who we hang out with, what movies that we watch, and things that bring either inspiration or conformity. And I think it's very important to understand that we have the ability to do great things. We have the ability to really do great things that people have never seen before, because we're unique in our own ways, and that we have a calling on our lives and our hearts to be expressions of our uniqueness. And I really, really, really take that to heart when I know that God has created each of us uniquely, and that it's infinite. The possibilities for us to express our love and our truth and our authentic selves is limitless. So when we look around at society, sometimes we can be drawn into the limitations of living and being, like whether or not you're going to make it up Heartbreak Hill. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be, this is where people fall apart. I paid no attention to that. That wasn't my truth. I figured I'm going to do the best that I can, and I'm going to let God prove He wants to do at Heartbreak Hill and after Heartbreak Hill. I'm going to give it my all, and I think that that's the way that life should be as well for each and every one of us. That we're unlimited beings, and we have unique qualities that the world just needs to experience every day. Just get up and go and just allow life to embrace you and support you, because it's important. I think it's very important. I think the world really needs a lot of that.
Needs us to show up, you mean? To show up and to share our unique gifts?
Yeah, and daring to really burst through and open up to our true, authentic selves and not hold back. Not hold back. Don't hold back. There's and what we think we can do. There's even more that's beyond our own imaginings.
Right.
If we just step forward and with the belief system and knowing that it exists, that there's a lot of beauty that exists within us, and then focus on what that can be, and know that it can be even better than that. Imagine that. How exciting is that? To get up every day to know, oh my gosh, I have something great, and God, bring it forth. Bring it forth. Bring forth what you want to bring forth within me. And that was just a perfect example of that happening, because it was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The race and that experience, it was very miraculous, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for the support of the spectators, and I still cry, I think, every day just thinking about how amazing it was, and just God is really every day is a great day.
Yeah, you said that there were just rows deep along the whole route. Is that right? Of supporters and drummers and
yeah.
You felt really loved and supported in the race. Is that right?
Oh, it was just incredible. It really was. And You know, it just, the love and the enthusiasm and the spirit. I mean, I was just brought to tears when I was at some points when I was running. Just it was an overwhelming vortex of love and joy and spirit, like I'd never experienced before, and I was just so grateful.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being here and sharing this inspiring story. I mean, your message about really putting aside, I mean, to me, your message of parenting and the race and your success in both, they're parallel to me, because what you're saying is just put away any limitation, anything that you look to measure yourself, whether it be the mirror, your bank account, your time, anything in the outer world that you would look to measure your worth. Completely close your mind to that, shut the door on that, and focus solely on giving your very best every single day in parenting, in life, and in running the race of life. I love the image of seeing just all those thousands and thousands of supporters who you felt so supported as you're running. I feel like that's what we're doing for each other every day. We're cheering each other on. The race is our lives, and we're every day we're continuing to move on, and we've all hit Heartbreak Hill in all the different ways in our lives, and we always, it's those supporters along the way who just keep us going, keep us upright and straight. And I thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. Is there any finishing words that you'd like to leave us with today?
I would just like to say, just remember to be, let love be your highest goal, with yourself, and
Right.
To aim to know the truth of who you are. Parenting can be a very challenging, it can be, it's a lot of work, but if it's done with love, it's the most magical experience ever. I feel the biggest gift in all the world is to watch these little angelic souls grow into, what they're meant to be. And I think that as parents, that we're the greatest example for our children. We are the greatest example of who we are and how we live our lives, that speaks volumes over anything that we could say. And let it all be done in love. Let the love from within ourselves and how we nurture ourselves be a perfect example on an outward expression of how we want our children to be and live and grow, and how the world will be shaped and formed by how we live and grow and have our being. Mm. And it's all love. It's the greatest force in all the world. Mm. And one of my favorite quotes as a parent that I would say over and over again is that I would be a distributor, not a consumer of love. That God would keep my cup full, so that I could be a giver, not a consumer. Mm. And when I was in that race, that's exactly what I said to myself. When I got to the point where I was in a lot of pain and it was very hard, I didn't want to think about my own pain. It was easier to offer prayer to those around me. Mm. And sometimes when we go through challenging times too, that sometimes what heals us faster is to give. Mm. Give a little out, and we get, it all works so well that way. And I just really want to offer my joy and love and enthusiasm to all the parents out there and children, and just know that every day is a great day to love.
Wonderful. It sounds like being a go-giver instead of a go-getter. Be a go-giver. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us on the Free Families webcast, and we'll see you next week, same time. Have a beautiful day. You deserve it.